Years ago, I watched my mother lose her job after developing carpal tunnel from repetitive data entry work, and she had surgery and she was later let go. That moment really stayed with me and inspired me to create Connex, a tool that automates tedious e-commerce operations to reduce burnout and free up human capital. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome as a guest someone who knows how to bring brands to life. Laura of Agency Bell. As a Boston-based brand strategist and designer with over 30 years of experience, Laura helps consumer-focused companies, from personal care and apparel to tech startups, build strong, emotionally resonant brands and marketing campaigns that perform. Her expertise spans email, video, social media, and messaging that just doesn't sell, but makes people feel like they're part of something bigger. In today's episode, we'll explore how brands can stand out during the holidays when competition is fierce and inboxes are full. Let's discuss the consumer brand Q&A. And before I get into too many questions, Laura, why did you start your agency? How did you get into all this work?
I started my agency 24 years ago, so almost 25 years in business, and I know it's quite a few numbers of years. I haven't fired myself yet, so I'm in it for the long haul.
Yeah, and did you go to school for marketing, or how did you get motivated to start your agency?
So I went to a private school, which was very STEM based, and I was sort of the artsy one. I did go to college for art and design, but never was satisfied with just the pure art alone. So I did a dual degree with journalism as well as design to really create that holistic approach of words, pictures coming together to make sense of the world.
And it sounds like you're definitely an expert in brands and marketing. How do you sell your products, like apparel, without being annoying in categories like I guess, how do you sell products best in personal care and apparel?
Well, I think every client is really unique, and we have a different approach, whether it be a power bar versus a bar of soap, let's say. So, I mean, we really need to look at things for a unique stance, both on who we're trying to connect to, why do they need that product or service, and how can we best speak their language and be where they live. I really, there is no one approach. There's so many different channels for connection at this point. Obviously, in the old days, we had television, we had billboards. We only had a couple of places, obviously print, newspaper, and magazines. But in today's world, there's so many different types of channels. We want to go to where the consumers live and really learn how to speak their language.
I remember when my company moved to Stripe as a payment processor, I saw Instacart on there, I saw Shopify, I saw Salesforce. I said, I want to be like a big software as a service company, and that's why I bought Stripe. And I feel like their homepage really spoke to me. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. And how do you deal with tone? How often to send stuff? How do you deal with segmenting your audience? How do you find where those customers live?
Well, there's several questions inside that question. So tone is voice, it's messaging, it's talking to someone with a point of view. Where do you find out where they live? It takes a little bit of research usually. I mean, yes, there are general best practices, and we as marketers know the trends, but there's nothing like a good little dive into customer research and really getting to know the customer and really creating that customer persona. I like to really be able to visualize them, name them, imagine them as real people, and get to know like what makes them tick, how do they think, why do they shop or do what they do, how do they connect with the outside world, and what are they passionate about. And I think there was one more question in that question. Did I miss something?
Yeah, how do you segment this audience? For example, let's say, for athletic wear you have men and women, how would you segment that in your marketing?
I'll use a recent client that came to me. They were a sprouted nut and seed business. And in this type of consumer packaged good, they could approach it into a couple of different ways. Maybe they would like to focus on the athlete who wants to be most nutritious and make the best choices. Maybe they want to create it as a great healthy snack alternative for a mom or dad to give to their child after school. So there's lots of ways of looking at how the packaged good, in this case, nuts and seeds, could be connect to an ideal customer. So we would speak, even though those types of products are useful in lots of different ways, we would talk to the moms differently than the pro athlete. And segmentation is very much, we would have a customer persona for each one of those types of markets and have typically one favorite of all of them. Usually there is a preferred customer ideal with tangential markets that surround that perfect persona. So I would speak to the mom differently than I would speak to the pro athlete. And that's really important to remember.
Yes, I agree. I'm sure Stripe speaks to larger SaaS companies like Connex much differently than a startup business. So I agree that you need to adjust your messaging based on who you're working. And speaking of messaging, how important are these videos like demos, unboxing, behind the scenes, and how do you make them personable and shareable?
Oh, that's a great question. I spoke to a client yesterday. We went through her performance for the previous month, and I do write much of her marketing that she shares on social, but she also does her own, her own. And the best performing post was a behind the scenes of her making her product. And it went gangbusters and it was shared and it was commented. So her own personal video of her making her product, her work environment really was the most authentic. And I think that that is really important to kind of peel back, the veil, peek behind the curtain, and allow the customers and the clients to see how things are made, how things are sourced. I work with sometimes service providers who are interior designers. When they go to source the fabric or the tile, their prospective clients love that. They love seeing the work and the magic behind what it is that the provider is giving. So sometimes it's as simple as your own cell phone. Obviously, a well-produced video is great, but it also tends to come with a hefty price tag. In some of the bigger, even with bigger budgets, sometimes a raw, authentic moment is well perceived in the marketplace.
And speaking of raw, and you mentioned authentic moments. How can a brand make people feel like they're part of a family during the holidays and not just pushing discounts?
Well, I think that starts well before the holidays. You really want loyalty when there's so much coming at a consumer. You don't want them to learn about you in that moment. I worked with a jewelry company a while ago. They really created almost this tribe of people. They had people coming back for more. These were items that were great for Mother's Day, great for a graduation, and certainly all the key moments in someone's life. But it wasn't just a one and done transaction. They really brought people into the fold. And that does take a little bit of nurturing. And sometimes it goes beyond the transaction of come and click and here's a sale. Some folks have Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups or other types of portals where people can start to feel special and recognized. Obviously, for something that's more in the tech space, having user groups, that starts to bring people together with like-mindedness. And then when the sales come or the more transactional moments come, it's a softer sell because people want to participate, they want to buy, and you don't have to convert them. You are giving them opportunities to buy, but you're not needing to convert them.
Yes, it sounds like there's a great deal of like getting to know the brand, like part of the Facebook group, part of the LinkedIn group. People need that familiarity. I find that when people make decisions, they make decisions based on familiar, like how comfortable they feel. There has to be that trust before they make that buying decision. These are some great insights. Let's move on to some of the tech companies. How can tech companies time their marketing to hit customer need moments like growth or hiring pain points? And do you have any cool stories?
Again, every moment is unique for that particular industry, so people's buying cycles will be different depending on what it is. Can you give me an example, and I'll give you some.
Give you an example here at Connex. Our needs cycle is close to Black Friday, Christmas, and the beginning of the year, like basically tax season and holiday season. So how would a tech company time our marketing to hit people in like October, which is one of our busiest months out of the year? And something like that, or maybe January, February when it's tax time, everybody wants to get the books in order, they're looking for the automations.
So you definitely want to work in advance of your deadline. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah, I think we disconnected for a moment. Yeah, so you mentioned that we want to work in advance of our deadline.
Yes. So I would say 12 weeks out. And what's really nice is case stories or case studies. Storytelling sells. You don't want to just give them features and benefits and make them connect the dots themselves, but tell stories from real life, either customers or a scenario where a probable or possible client can enjoy the product in usage and why it's freed up, X amount of time or X amount of dollars. Again, storytelling sells in a way that features, benefits, bullet points don't. So trying to get live testimonials, trying to get quotes, trying to get reviews and case studies of why someone has really enjoyed the product in advance of those moments where they need to push buy is important.
Yes, we do have some of those case studies on our site, and we have these landing pages such as QuickBooks or Free Agent or Sage, but it's very like, here's a video, here's what it can do. It can take your customers' products and sync them in both directions. It'd be great. I should talk to my marketing team about getting some of those case studies maybe onto some of the landing pages. Like, yeah, here's a case study of someone who did the two-way syncing. And the story, I agree, the stories that sell, even with Stripe, saw stories of customer success stories. So when companies get new budgets, and that happens in January with accounting, how can these tech products be seen as smart investments like Connex instead of like a nice to have? How can businesses see Connex as a smart investment during tax time?
Well, again, you want to get in advance of the need, because once they have the need, they don't have that ramp up time for educating how the product is used and integration. I'm sure that's an issue, and any type of other team learning. If it's a one man shop, that's a lot easier to transition a tech product. If it's a whole team of people and offices, that's a greater ramp up time. So you want to be well in advance of the type of user that would be implementing this. And I would be transparent about costs, about monthly, about subscription renewals, anything that you can do to mentally prepare them to make an investment of that nature is important. No one likes a surprise, and especially in this day and age. So having your ducks in a row, allowing those case studies and case stories to be loud and proud, and then welcoming them more in a sharing of the opportunity rather than a sale. I think people respond better to sharing versus selling. You're giving them the opportunity to make their life easier with your product. And then, you're talking to their pain points. You want them to want you instead of the other way around, which was the old way, which is, sell, sell, sell.
Exactly. You want to make sure there's time before they need it. People tend to buy Connex when there's a problem. They don't buy it to prepare for a holiday season, which would make a lot of sense. So what's the best way to simplify complex platforms or integrations so even the non-techie folks get it? So if you were doing marketing here at Connex, for example, how could you, simplify our product?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure I have the answer to that one. That would take I think a little bit more research.
Yeah, I mean, I think one way when we've had other, marketing professionals is make demo videos. Like, yeah, here's a 60-second video on how to sync something. I think that's been a really, good way to get the data out there of landing pages. It's maybe perhaps some webinars, maybe some short demos. We've definitely had challenges around how do you simplify something so complex. Our software has, I think, 2 million lines of code. It's huge over the past 15 years. So it's quite a big system.
I think demos are very important. I like that. And I think, unfortunately, short versus long form is, for the first look. Then once you have someone truly intrigued, then a longer webinar where they're more of they already have an internal investment of time and energy, then the demo is good.
Yeah, I found that I'll watch more stuff on YouTube because it's like a 5-minute video rather than the longer the video, the more time investment. Like, oh, I don't want to watch this for 20 minutes or an hour. I just want to do something else. I think many people like those short-term videos. So I'll ask you another question. Since many B2B buyers are really cautious, how do you think tech companies can focus on building trust and partnership instead of just selling? You mentioned the LinkedIn groups and Facebook groups.
Yeah, it goes, I think, really to creating community. I like the idea of transparency and getting groups together, information sharing. I mean, in the old days, we would do trade shows, that's less common. People don't have the travel budgets that they used to. They're not, flying on airplanes and staying in hotels. So anything you can do to kind of start to create that community, create that information sharing, allowing those stories of success from other companies who have used your product to shine forth is important. And, just doing what you can to connect human to human. People buy from people. So do you have sales reps, or are you purely an online?
Yeah, we have sales reps. What's working for us is we have a free trial, and
Mhm.
then we call people on the free trial because they leave their phone number, and we say, "Hey, how's your trial doing?" "Oh, I'm stuck on this part." "Well, let me help you with that." And we have a short sales call to gather their needs, and through that connection, we find we make more sales. Whereas when people just call in and don't start calling to inquire, they rarely start a trial, and it's harder to kind of move them forwards. We find it's like a combination of the two, a free trial with a phone call. Seems to work best
So
for us.
with the free trial, which I think is a brilliant idea, do you send other things along the way? Like, are you making the most of your free trial? Here's some things you can try today. Or, hey, did you know that there's this extra feature that may not be obvious, etc.?
Yes, we do send some emails welcoming people there. I don't know remember the exact content of the emails, but I think that would be a good idea to see, to get the most out of Connex. We've found here at Connex that people, once they start a trial and they're in touch with us, they usually buy within 7 to 14 days. It's very fast. If they do a phone call, the sales cycle is usually like 30 to 60 days. It's a longer sales cycle because they're just evaluating different solutions. They're too far from the yes line.
Right. I know that when I've done free trials for other types of products, sometimes I either A, forget that I've done the free trial, or B, I am really just barely scratching the surface of the capabilities that the offer has available. So I think those little prompts are a good way to keep people engaged, to remember, and to allow them to dive deeper into the possibilities and the strengths that your product has to offer.
Yeah, I agree. Emails kind of remind people. And we found that we've been getting more sales with email reminders, even when people leave. "Hey, I know it's been 30 days since your trial ended. Are you still interested?" Sometimes people they get busy with other things, family emergency, and they can't complete the trial, but it's a way to automatically follow up with people after 60, even 90 days out. We've had people call us and then 4 months later want to start a trial. People the timelines are different.
Right. Text messaging is also common. That can be seen as scammy, but also welcome depending on the type of consumer that you have.
Yeah, we'll have to look into some text messaging. We even have people from 2020 if could talk with marketing. We put some of them into a trial workflow of maybe getting some emails from us may remind them of who we are. Yeah, these are some really great points. We're definitely getting them very much into software as a service marketing. And you mentioned about talking about features and case studies, for features versus stories. How can businesses shift from talking about real business outcomes to like emotional perks or saving time? How do we go from listing features to telling a story?
Well, again, every type of client or customer is different, but I think, in the tech world, there might be less, direct demand for the emotional piece. I mean, who's your buyer as an example? Like who's doing your buying, and what scale of company are you at? Are you working with?
Most of the companies that buy Connex under 5 employees, usually $250,000 to $2 million a year. Typically a smaller company that does wholesale, so they'll sell to a Home Depot or a Lowe's. If you go to a grocery store, some of our customers are there. Usually smaller businesses that sell wholesale and sometimes a combination of wholesale and retail. We find that the
Okay.
wholesalers tend to be more stable, but their needs are usually a workflow. So our customers will say we want to many of our customers sell products that are out of stock or pre-ordered. So let's say you order like a 12-pack of soda. They say we don't have a 12-pack in stock. Let me call my supplier. So its workflow is you put in an order, then I call my supplier, then I receive the goods, then I send it to a shipping system, then I send the customer an invoice for the products and the shipping costs, and then I finally request payment. It's a more complex work. It's like 7 or 8 steps for that kind of process. And most of our customers have more of a workflow like that, whereas business to consumer is more, I went to Amazon, I paid by credit card, I get it in the mail. It's very, order a credit card that said, hey, you have to have the products in stock to be on Amazon. You can't be like a drop shipper, to my knowledge.
Right. So, I mean, at the end of the day, every single customer of ours has pain points. They have things that drag them down. It could be productivity, it could be cost, it could be time, it could be a lot of different things. So, you want to talk to the pain points, and it's important to really get to know your individual consumers to really figure out what it is that makes them tick and why, why their life could be simplified, or their it could be you had an 8-step process, we give you a 4-step process, or you were paying X, now you're paying Y. It could be we can replace one of your staff. Now this product can simplify, by having less staff to pay for. Another thing is, I mean, really, it it is so different. I mean, that's why my work is so interesting and diverse. Is every single client has a different. Every single one of my clients have clients that have different needs and demands on them. And for something like the seed company, they're looking at customers who have pain points of, I want to eat a healthy snack. I thought I was eating healthy. I bought cashews at Whole Foods. Well, this company, my client, they make sprouted nuts. So they're talking about fueling the body with alive, nuts that haven't been dried and basically died. So we're talking to those clients, customers, in a way that really starts to educate and give the pain point of eating healthy a solution that is right here to your door. And for you and your customers, I think it's about really getting clear, so that you're not just another software provider. You are solving problems. Your product solves problems, and being clear about what those problems are. And then again, you have the antidote to that pain that those folks have, your buyers.
Yeah, I think the pain that many of our buyers have is that they have a very complex process that requires a great deal of manual data entry and, human involvement. And it's fine for a small volume, but if you 10x the orders, you'd have to hire more people. And I think some of these smaller businesses are just afraid, like, what if I 10x my sales? One of my customers is like, yeah, this is a 12-step process. I'm like, that's a lot of steps. And in some case, Connex can just make it like, so we definitely cut back on the steps.
I would have headlines in your marketing, in your landing pages. Are you afraid to 10x your orders? We can save you steps along the way. I mean, you want to start answering some of these questions in your marketing.
Yeah, I'll have to definitely, discuss with my marketing team, like, what are some of the pain points that some of the wholesalers feel. We're trying to get like a focus group together. I think one challenge we've had at Connex is we don't have like a customer advisory group or get a bunch of people together and say, yeah, these are our problems, and figure out what they have in common and build something, accordingly. So that's been a challenge. And I know we're running out of time, but do you have any final thoughts about how do we get these pain points out of customers through a focus group of some sort? Or
Well, nobody's going to go somewhere to answer questions these days. You can do customer surveys through another app or so. There's digital questionnaires. Some people may or may not want to fill that out. You can give them a little either rebate or a little gift to incentivize them to answer. Another way is simply a good old-fashioned phone call. I'm conducting some customer research for a client right now. I'm reaching out to 5 of her clients, and it's just a subsection, but it starts to give her a taste of what people are seeing and perceiving about her and her company. And again, it could be 5, it could be 50, it could be 500, depending on your particular need and the diversity of your client base. It might be very, very large. So you might need to do more. But even just a few, a small percentage is insight into the lifeblood of your target market.
yes, we've been considering giving like a $50 gift card to people to complete like a 15-minute, 30-minute call. Like, hey, what are your challenges as a wholesaler? Oh, I have a really complex process. Many companies they don't want to buy products and leave them in a warehouse because it's really expensive to hold up capital like that. So they do like drop shipment. So we're always curious. That's some good ideas. Maybe we can send out an email, offer a gift card, maybe put a notification up on the site that we're looking for people. I think if the incentive is great enough, people will participate.
Yeah, but make sure it's diverse, so you can have diverse points of view. I mean, I got a little worried when my first call with this consumer research project was all positive. I was like, oh boy, I want some negatives too. I mean, we want to learn from this exercise. It can't be all rosy.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have to get some diverse points of view, get some people to give us some positive and negative feedback. Yeah, this has been a really great session. Laura, I want to give you a big thanks for being here and giving us all your marketing and tech insights. And I want you to check out Laura's work at AgencyBell, AgencyBel.com if you want to humanize your brand or cut through the noise. If you're ready to ditch those manual operations and automate your e-commerce, head to ConnexEcommerce.com. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with anyone who needs help with their holiday campaigns. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.